having the most incredible day. As always, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to be diving into my November reading wrap up. So I'm going to go through all the books I read throughout November, and I have 9 of them to share with you. They are all piled up ready to go. So I'm so excited to share with you what books I read this month. I have some quite questionable star ratings, I'm not gonna lie, so I am really sorry if any of these books are your favourites, because I didn't have the best month, I'm not gonna lie. There are some, let me just check, hang on a second. So these books actually vary from 1 to 5 star, which I think is insane. So let's go, let's dive in. I'm gonna do this in order that I read them as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Let's dive into my November reading wrap up, and yeah, carry on watching. So the first book that I read in November was Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Now I bought this book completely on a whim. I saw it in the works and I think it was probably £3, £2.50, something along those lines. And I really love Christina Lauren's writing. I think they write books incredibly well and I usually really love them. This book is about Lily and Leo, and essentially what it's about is Lily, it's hard to explain it without giving it away, but Lily's father passed away and she grew up on a ranch and she kind of looked after horses, and she had like a horse business, I suppose, where people would come and stay, like a hotel, ride horses in the country, that kind of thing. Leo was somebody who went there, they almost fell in love, he left, and then it kind of goes years later and it's how they kind of reconnect. I don't want to give too much away, but that's kind of really obvious from the start, so that isn't really a spoiler. And then it kind of goes on to almost a treasure hunt, which I did like. I thought it was very clever. I thought that was really interesting. You see the true colours of a lot of the characters, and without giving it away, there is a sudden plot twist about 2/3 of the way through, which I was kind of reading it and I was like, oh, like I just didn't expect it, especially from a Christina Lauren book. It was quite like, I was quite shocked. But anyway, I gave this book, let me just double check, but I think I remember, yes, I gave this one 3 stars because it wasn't my absolute favourite Christina Lauren book, but it was good, and I don't regret reading it. It just wasn't my favourite, so that is why I gave it 3 stars. But yeah, that is the first book I read in November. I did like it, didn't love it. The second book I read in November was Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. Now I was actually going into this book thinking I was going to absolutely hate it, because my friend Kelsey did not like this book. At first I think she DNF'd it and then she finished it and really didn't like it. I have a very love-hate relationship with Karen M. McManus, especially with this kind of storyline. I think it was You'll Be the Death of Me, which I really didn't like. I think I read that last month, so go and check out my reading wrap up for October if you haven't seen it. But this one I gave 4 stars. I thought it was actually quite good. I liked it more than I thought, and I did really like the ending. There are a lot of kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say it was obvious, but you do kind of think about that specific person quite a lot throughout the book, so I don't want to give it away too much. But essentially what it's about is a woman, well, a girl gets murdered years ago, and then another girl goes missing, and 2 children move to that town years later, and it's kind of how they relate to those people that were killed, and it's really hard to explain it without giving it away, but all of a sudden murders are continuing for specific people and they are linked together, and you kind of figure out what's been going on. It is quite a dark story in the fact that of the reason and why they were being killed, so I don't really know what sort of trigger warnings you would need, but it is quite, I don't know, it is very disturbing. But I really enjoyed the read. I thought it was really good, and yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. Not really much more to say about it, I feel, without giving it away, but 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I'm just gonna have a sip of my coffee, 1 second. The next book was the first novella that I picked up for the month, and that was This Winter by Alice Osman. Now, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate with these books because I don't think I like them at all. I gave this one 2 stars, which seems incredibly harsh, but I did do a lot of researching before I read this book because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to read the series in order, and everybody said no, but then this just didn't really make sense. So I was a little bit confused, but essentially this is about two boys, Nick and Charlie, and this is just a very Christmassy, festive book. I probably should have read this in December, but I didn't really realise what it was about because I never read the back. So it's just a little bit, I don't want to say this the wrong way, it's a bit of an odd one because initially when I was reading this, I thought this is a little bit more young adult for me than I would normally go for. I normally go for young adult or more kind of adult books, I suppose, but this was quite a young orientated book. But then there is a lot of swear words in it. There's like not sex scenes, but there's like a little bit of intimacy, and I just feel it's a weird mixture which kind of confused me. And obviously it is a graphic novel, so you can sort of see the pictures in here, which I actually really liked. I loved the spacing, I loved how big the words were. I got through this in one sitting. It was really easy to read. I literally read it within like not even an hour, like maybe 40 minutes, half an hour or something, which I liked because I wanted to sort of get through it and give my opinion on it. But yeah, they're just not really my favourite. I have the whole series from Alice Oseman, which I'm a little bit now concerned about because it just wasn't my fave. I don't know, I just didn't love it, but that was this winter. I would give it 2 stars. But if you love a graphic novel and you just want something that's really easy to read, I would recommend it. For me personally, it just didn't interest me at all. I just felt bored. So that's my opinion on that one. The next book I read was Destroy Me, and this is from the Shatter Me series. Obviously this is the Unite Me version, so it has 2 novellas in one. So I've read half of this book. I gave Destroy Me 3 stars, and I simply think it's because I left it far too long between Shatter Me and Destroy Me to really enjoy it, because I kind of forgot what happened, I'm not gonna lie. Like Shatter Me I read months ago. When did I read that? June maybe? I really cannot remember all the tiny details of that book, so when I was reading this I was kind of getting a little bit confused. However, I did give it 3 stars simply because it's from Warner's point of view, which means that you get a little bit more of a perspective into why he does what he does, what's been going on. I kind of knew that was going to happen anyway because I have seen a lot of spoilers on TikTok for the Shatter Me series, but yeah, 3 stars. I think it was necessary, especially if you are going to read the whole series like I hopefully am planning to. I just really need to step up my game, so maybe I should read Unite Me next, but not Unite Me, what's the next one? Unravel Me? I forget, they all sound similar. I think it's Unravel Me, so I might pick that one up next. But yeah, anyway, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was good. I just feel I definitely left it a little bit too long, but these are all the books on the back, so the series is quite long. But yeah, I'm excited to continue with it. Just not my favourite. The next book I read was Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. Now the reason I picked this one was because I felt that I really needed a good 5-star read. I knew that I would love this book because this series is one of my all-time favourite series, I don't know, that I've ever read ever. I absolutely love the Twisted series so much, and I will say that they are quite spicy, they are quite heavy, and this book is 500 pages long, which I think is the biggest book I've read. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is one of the biggest books I've ever read, so I'm really impressed with myself. It did take me a little while to read though, I'm not gonna lie, because obviously I work full-time, so I can't sit and read all the time, which upsets me because I'd love to do that. But yeah, this book was incredible. It was a 5-star read, hands down. I absolutely loved it. And if you haven't read any of the Twisted series, essentially it follows 4 friends, and I can't really say much more, but this one was about Jules and Josh, who I fell in love with. I think Josh is my favourite out of all 3 I've read so far. He's a doctor. It's just amazing. It's so incredibly good, and I just absolutely loved it. And Jules, she's a fiery redhead who, both of them aren't into relationships, but you can kind of see where it's going, so I'm not going to spoil it anymore. And the ending of this book was just so good because it touches on 2 of the characters from the first book, which just made me like so happy, and I just absolutely loved it. So yeah, 5-star read. If you want to pick up a really good series that you just can't put down, and you know that every book is going to be a 5-star, if you love a bit of spice, if you love romance, if you love a good twist and turn, if you like just a really good juicy book, these are incredible. You can buy them from the Works. I think they're £6 and they're just insane. So please pick them up if you like that kind of thing, and let me know down below your thoughts because I loved it. So yeah, I think this is my favourite book out of all 3 that I've read so far, so I loved it. Amazing. The next book that I read was the third novella of the month, and that was Nick and Charlie. And again, I picked this up because, if I'm being honest with you, I wanted to get my numbers up because I was not reading as quick as I thought, and I really wanted to bump my numbers up for the month. So I picked this up knowing full well that I could read this in a day. And I did. Unfortunately, again, this was a 2-star read for me. I just feel like it just doesn't really tick any boxes for me into what I'm looking for in a good book. I just didn't really enjoy it. But this one, again, is about Nick and Charlie. It's about an up and down situation in the relationship. One's going to uni, one isn't. I just feel like it's very, I don't want to say mediocre because that sounds awful, but it's just not interesting to me. I just find it incredibly blah. And I feel really horrible saying that because I know that the Heartstopper series is incredible. I've heard some really good things about that series, and I just don't want to be harsh with it, but it's just not for me. I can see why people would like it, because I think that a graphic novel for some people would be really nice because you can sort of envision the pictures, do you know what I mean? And like, it's really fun to look at. For me, it's not necessary. I just don't know. It was just average. I can't really say anything else about it. It was a 2-star. I'm really sorry if you love it, but I did not. But, you know, I gave it a 2 stars. It's better than 0. The next book we have is my lowest rated book, I think, that I've ever done, and that is Rock, Paper, Killers by Alexa Mason. Now, I don't know why I said it like that, Alexa Mason. The reason I gave this 1 star, yes, I gave it 1 simple star, was because I had so much hope for this book. And I feel like I really just want to tell you guys what happens, because I don't think you're going to want to read this, but I don't want to give away spoilers either. Okay, do you know what? I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what happens in this book. If you do not want any spoilers, skip ahead like 2 minutes, because I promise you, you're not going to want to read this book. So essentially what happens is a group of people, they go to an Irish school. So for like the summer or something, they go to this really prestigious, like expensive, hard to get into Irish school to learn Irish. First of all, bizarre. But anyway, they're all a group of friends, and then it's really hard to explain it, but there's this one girl there, separate from the group, who's a bit strange, and one girl in the group really does not like this other girl. I cannot remember what their names are, so I do apologise. She really doesn't like this other girl, and she's kind of warning her friends, like, stay away from her. She's like really, like, not good news whatsoever. You have no idea why at this point. Anyway, moving on, all this sort of like stuff happens, and it's all at the school, like exams, blah blah blah, learning Irish. Like, it's not interesting. Nothing happens in this book until like the last 10 pages. So that's another reason why I didn't like it. But then one of the girls, I can't remember her name, she's really into her crystals, right? Love her. Really into her crystals, really into full moon meditation, kind of cleansing, that kind of thing. Great person, sounds like. I just had a vibe with her. Great. She thinks, oh, let's go to this cliff and let's do like a full moon ritual. Anyway, they all go. This other girl turns up that this one girl doesn't like, and the girl that doesn't like her says something along the lines of, you need to leave or I'll just tell them what you did, or something like that. This whole fight happens. Bearing in mind, all her friends now hate her because they all think that she's being unreasonable. She ends up being pushed off the cliff. The girl that she doesn't like stabs her hand with scissors, so she falls and dies. And it turns out that the girl that stabbed her hand with scissors actually killed somebody when she was little, and she knew about it, and that is why she didn't like her. And that's the end. So I just don't, it's just the weirdest, it's the weirdest book I've ever read in my life, and I don't recommend it personally because it's just such a bizarre read. And I was kind of reading it like, what is happening? Like, nothing is happening until the last few pages. 1 star. Didn't enjoy it. The next book I read was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and this book was absolutely incredible. I'd heard so many good things about this book that I kind of put off reading it because I was so nervous that I wasn't gonna love it. But this book was absolutely insane. I loved it so much. This was definitely a 5-star read for me. This one was about Rowan and Zara. Zara worked at a theme park. She wasn't necessarily wealthy at all. She had near enough no money, no savings, and that kind of thing. She grew up just, is it living by the means? Is that the saying? She didn't have a lot of money, and Rowan, who essentially is a bajillionaire, he owns the theme park. He has a percentage in the theme park, which I think his percentage was $25 billion, which was just like insane. And I'm not going to really go into too much detail, but Rowan has to go to the theme park and work there for a while to help improve it, so that he can get his inheritance. And Zara is a very simplistic worker. She works because she loves it. She's very bubbly. It's definitely a grumpy sunshine vibe, but this was just so good. I loved it. The ending was perfect, and it was just such an incredible read. So if you have not read this book, please give this series a go. The third one is coming out in January. I am so excited to get my hands on that. So yeah, this is the first one in the, what's it called, Dreamland Billionaire series, and there will be 3 because there's 3 brothers, so it kind of makes sense that it's going to be kind of going along the brothers line. So yeah, so excited about this. Was amazing. If you want a good romance, it is quite spicy, but if you want a good romance, incredible. And the last book that I read in November was The Bride Test by Helen Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient trilogy. However, I definitely read this in the wrong order because I did not realise they all intertwined until I read the 2nd book, and the 2nd book was the 3rd book, and this was the 2nd book. There wasn't necessarily much in this book that was wrong. It was just that one of the people in it was single in this book, but they actually were not single in the 3rd book, so it kind of made it a bit confusing. But other than that, I did like this book. Again, it was one of those books where you're kind of reading it and I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. It's kind of just like an in-between book for me. I gave this one 3 stars, simply because up until about here, they don't even kiss. And then the ending was beautiful. That's kind of my thoughts on this one. So I gave it a 3 stars because it was average. But I did like it, and I'm glad that I read the whole series. I thought it was really good. The whole series really focuses on characters with autism. So each book there is a character that has autism, and it's to do with them and relationships, and it does actually help you understand how people with autism could relate to these characters, especially in regards to relationships. So I thought that was really interesting. Overall, I gave this one a 3 stars. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I probably wouldn't read it again, but I would recommend it if you want a nice easy read. So yeah, so that is everything I read in November. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and let me know down below in the comments what you read in November. Did you read any of these books? Have you read any of these books? I would just love to know your thoughts and opinions, and also if I have read the Alice Osman series in the wrong order, please let me know because I think I need to rectify it ASAP. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.